Are you dreaming big enough? I want you to dream big and act bigger. You see, I want to have power. I want to be empowered. Suddenly, being empowered is a more positive word because I want to make sure that I know my own values, my boundaries. I know what I want to achieve in life. Visible and invisible barriers are only a problem if you accept them as such. So a woman with a big dream also needs to have a plan, because without a plan, that dream is just a wish.
I love her confidence, I love her charisma and her positivity and her brightness and her colour and her lessons about life, you know, as a woman who's been through so much. It was really, really inspiring and really interesting.
I had 4 kids in 2 years. I wanted to be a businesswoman. I had no money. I had to think, how is this dream going to happen? If you actually start believing if something's important to you, just back yourself. Back yourself despite what other people say. Successful people are not held back by what other people say.
I would recommend that for everybody, because everybody should have a dream and everybody should back themselves. So I think she's awesome.
Even when it feels like everything's not going to work, they go, you know what? I'm going to make sure that this does work. I'm going to be positive despite, because it brings energy, it brings opportunity. And as soon as you actually get half glass empty, your vision will start failing. I encourage you to start making your dreams a reality in business and in life. Thank you. Hello and welcome to our Women's Biz Mindset Magic Summit, brought to you by Women's Biz Global. So excited to have so many of you coming to share in our summit from around the world, whether you are watching on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, or even via the Women's Biz Global platform. We are so thrilled that you are joining us through this couple of days of summit speakers. They have been absolutely amazing so far, and we really look forward to your active engagement in our speakers as well. So definitely, as you listen to our next amazing speaker, I would love you to just drop in some likes, some loves, some questions, and Lisa will be able to come back to you after her presentation and sharing time with me. So let me introduce you to Lisa Benson. First of all, welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Annie. It's so exciting to be here.
Oh, I am so thrilled to have you on this platform. And for those of you who do not know Lisa, oh my goodness, you are going to love her stories today. She is a self-diagnosed recovering perfectionist who spent 5 years writing her first book. What was that book called? Where Have I Been All My Life? It's going to be an interesting one for us to unpack. So during this time, how did she actually go about doing it? She actually spent part of her time on a boat in Sydney Harbour, which she was trying to channel some kind of peacefulness, some inspiration. And so, oh my goodness, I had never thought of doing something like that, but maybe that's what a recovering perfectionist needs to do. She's all about helping others to stop trying so hard and start being, which is very difficult when you are a perfectionist. So let's dive into our time together now. And Lisa, I would love to ask you, why did it take over 5 years to actually write your memoir?
Well, that's very interesting, and it's probably one of the most asked questions that I have been asked since I wrote my book and have published it. And I think there's a few main reasons, but one of the big ones was that when I started, I was a little bit naive and I thought I had all the answers, which obviously we often think we know more than we do. So I had to go through the journey myself, and I was actually writing the book that I actually needed to read. So I had to go through the whole process of breaking down my story and the reasons why I was stuck and the reasons why I had settled for unhappiness. So it was kind of like I had to go through the journey of what I was writing before I shared it with the world to try and help other people. So that was probably one of the main ones. But another one that was a huge one for me was that I was so worried about other people, and you can't write a memoir without talking about other people. So I actually spent the last 18 months of the writing journey editing the book down to a point where I was really proud and I felt very respectful of how I handled other people, because I think some people don't choose to be in our story, but we can't write a memoir without, the impact of other people. So I remember reading through the book and just going, okay, if I have any kind of feeling that it's not, something that should be in the book and that is going to affect other people, then I'll just leave it out or modify it. So apart from that, all the normal author issues and procrastinations and self-sabotage, and why would anyone want to read it? So I think it is a journey, and especially with such a vulnerable memoir, I think that's why it took me so long. There's so many reasons. It's just a long journey, as you know, Annie, from writing your own book. It's not as easy as it sometimes seems.
It is definitely not as easy, and it is such a cathartic experience. I love that
Absolutely.
you approach that, because that's right. You think, I just want to write my story. And then that's right. So many other people are in your story, obviously. And then it's so interesting. How would they feel about that? And everyone has a different perspective of what's
That's
actually
right.
and their version of events. We all look through life with our own prism, and so it's a confronting experience. And so much, if you're like me, Lisa, is that it really unpacks as you start exploring each of those moments. You have to then revisit them and then try and package, how did I experience that? How do I feel about this? And then how to actually write it in a way that it will take other readers on a journey. Which brings me to the next question then. Well, who would want to read Where Have I Been All My Life?
That is a great question, and it's probably a little bit cliched, but I do think that everybody can get something out of my book, and it is definitely targeted at women. I'll just show you the book itself. So it's Where Have I Been All My Life, and the subtitle is How I Finally Grew Up After a Life of Putting Up, Giving Up and Shutting Up. So who hasn't been lost in their life? So we've all, lost track, and who hasn't given up things or put up with things or, shut up about things that they should have voiced. So I think my original thought was that it was going to be for young women. And then I thought, no, it's actually for older women as well. So the young women who read my book, it's helping them as they go through things. And as, even if they're teenagers and haven't gone through these things, it helps them prepare for things that may happen in the future. And when I started, I wanted to stop people from going through all the hard stuff. But now I realize that that's the very important stuff, and it's the magic in our life. But it's also older women are really resonating with my story, because it's giving them understanding, and they're reflecting on their own lives and getting answers to maybe reasons why they have been stuck in situations or where they've ended up. So I think that it's not just young women, it's women in general. But then I've also had 6 or 7 men who have read the book, or 6 or 7 that have given me feedback, and they've also been taken on an emotional journey, and they've given me some wonderful feedback that it's helped them. And I think it's not just about helping women. I think there's wonderful men in the world too who can help women, and all the equality in the world, and can help us get to where we need to be. And I think it's not just about blaming men for certain things. I think if we all help each other, we can all, be united as one. So I think that there's definitely a story for everyone, because it's intergenerational trauma, and it's the fact that I don't have any children, and there's just all these little things that we all go through, like grief and relationships. So I think that I don't think anyone misses out in this book. I think it does have a universal story that connects with everyone.
It is certainly jam-packed with a whole lot of life, events, moments. It confronts issues of how society expects you to be, how you show up, present yourself, expectations on you, like all of these things. And I love that you initially sort of said it was for younger women, but I tell you what, if it represents the clients that I have in Women's Biz Global, seriously, so many older women are having that moment. Where have you been all my life? In fact, I've just come off a coaching call with someone who's 60 who just went,
wow.
I feel like I've just found myself, and all the reasonings why we don't show up as our best self, and what actually inhibits us during our life journey. It's absolutely fascinating. So seriously, this is going to be, show us the cover again. I love that beautiful cover. That is
beautiful.
Beautiful cover. Oh my goodness.
And
I tell you what, doesn't it match the branding of the summit, by the way?
It is. I have my beautiful friend. I know it. Well, that's good. It matches in. It's perfect. My beautiful friend, actually, I went out to the world, and hundreds of people did the cover design, but my beautiful friend Lauren from Harper Branding and Designs ended up doing that beautiful cover. So I'm so proud to hold it in my hand. It's beautiful.
Absolutely adorable, and I'm all into book covers, and it just immediately draws you in, and I think it's going to be so valuable. So we touched on it before, that there are challenges. Challenges present themselves as you go and start unpacking your memoir. Can you share a little bit more about, what sort of specific challenges did you have?
Definitely. So there was the logistical surface level challenges, which, as you alluded to in the introduction, I have a bit of a double life. So due to my husband's work, we are in two different destinations, so 2 hours away. So I spend a lot of my time in a suitcase, and so most people and most authors have a designated writing area. So I'm constantly on the go, and I might be in a hotel room or, in one place or the other. So I had those logistical issues of just being able to just center myself and focus on the writing wherever I was. But as I said, that's a little bit more of a logistical and superficial level. But there was so many consciousness challenges that I came across during the writing. And one of them is, I talk about being a reformed perfectionist, and we can't change who we are. We're conditioned and brought up in certain ways and in certain generations. But being a perfectionist and trying to write a book where I'm exposing myself is quite challenging, as you can imagine. So I tried to edit all the way through, instead of waiting to the end and doing it in that kind of an order. But I also had challenges in worrying about, what other people said, as I said before, but also finding my own voice. So you can't write a book and be wishy-washy. And then when you're a people pleaser, you kind of sometimes sit on the fence, and if someone's got an opinion about something, you'll just go, oh, that sounds like good, and you'll morph in and be like a chameleon, as I've talked about in the book. You're a chameleon towards the conversation that you're in, instead of having your own authentic opinion. So I had to actually go through that whole process of finding my own voice and getting through all that as well. So I think there was so many challenges about stepping up and getting to the point where my message that I want to give to the world is stronger than my fears. So I think there's a lot of, you have to read the book to get all the answers, because there's so many, and I admit all this in the book, and I'm very vulnerable. So I think many people will relate to that part of the story where we don't know what we're doing or why we're doing it, but we have to unpack the deeper reasons for those issues.
I think if you're anything like me, you'll actually now step back after having your own book written and now available to the world. You actually feel like you're a different person. Like, it is so transformational, the journey.
Absolutely.
And then after you've unpacked all of that and dealt with it and moved forward and been so vulnerable and raw, it's just, it's sort of like it just takes you to this next level, which is really challenging and sometimes painful in the process, which is kind of handy sometimes when it does take a longer time to write, because you get to unpack things. I'd love to ask you then, well, do you think it's important for people to be vulnerable in that way and to share their stories? Do you think more people should be going through the process that you've been, and to sort of put themselves in that position, and why?
I really do, Annie. And some people, it's not for everyone to write a book and publish it, but I think journaling and writing down our thoughts is something universal to everyone, and that it can be helpful, because sometimes, as we mentioned earlier, that you can have a perspective, and I respect everyone's perspective of their own journey, but you have to look at the reasons why you feel a certain way and why you're triggered by certain things. And I think by writing things down, we actually get to the source of the problem. We don't just look at the surface level. We go really deep into, maybe the really deep reasons why we are, having these feelings. But I think when we share our stories, and if we do, like you and myself, if we do share them with the world, I think it is, if we're brave enough to do that, it connects each other. I think we just connect with everyone else. We connect with humanity, and we just have this beautiful sense of healing, because when other people, I think one of the things, I'll tell a little story, just a really quick one to explain this point, is in the beginning, I didn't want to share my story. And I was at a writing retreat in Fiji in about 2016, and my mentor asked the question. She said, "What will you never write about?" And so everyone's writing down all these, deep secrets and skeletons in the closet, but I wouldn't write it down because, as a perfectionist, someone might see this bit of paper and, I might be exposed. And so when I started, and I was in my early 40s at the time, I was not ready to do that. So sometimes it's not, you can't just tell people to share their stories. But I think when you learn over time that sharing our stories heals and connects us with each other, then it becomes easier to do. And like you said before, once the story's out there, it's like, oh, all that stuff I worried about was, it's sort of behind me now. But I understand, because you have to go through that to get to the point where it doesn't matter anymore. But if you do it in a respectful way, I think that we can all share our stories from our own point of view, and we own our own emotions. So it's really up to the individual to decide whether they want to do that. But it is definitely something that we can do for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And those people who've already read your book, or those who are choosing to then now go and buy your book, how will it actually help them, empower them to, become more authentic, become more true to their self? What's the main outcome, I suppose, or experience that those readers will receive?
Sure. I think that the main thing that will come across, and that readers have already told me, is that they feel less alone, because as we're going through things all through our life, often we're like, oh, I'm the only one, or, everyone else has it so easy, but I'm struggling. And I think that's the overriding thing the book does, is it helps, because as I said, I was known as Little Miss Perfect at school. And it's like, if Little Miss Perfect can make mistakes and be ashamed and do all these things, I think the vulnerability is the power of the story. And also the fact that there's these expectations of women to be married in their 20s and have children, by their 20s or 30s. And I didn't do any of that. So I was in my early 40s and had never been married, and I've still never had my own children, but I'm showing an alternate path. And I think that gives permission for other people to, and doesn't have to be the same as me. I think everyone has their own beautiful journey that they're going on. And I don't tell anyone what to do or how to do it, but I show through my story that, even when you are lost, you can find a way. And I think that's the takeaway for the story, is that it doesn't matter where you are, you can always, change. And I think Wayne Dyer has a beautiful quote, "This too shall pass." And I think that no matter what's going on in our life, whether it's great or whether it's a bit sad or a little bit negative, the times change all the time, and things pass. And I think by me showing my authentic self after decades of not showing my authentic self, I think that gives permission for other people to be their true self as well.
I love that phrase, give people permission to be themselves. And I think it does because as you read a book like yours and others that are really raw and vulnerable, it makes you as the reader go, oh my gosh, like I'm so sort of honored that this woman has shared her real story, but there'll be elements that I really connect with, or I thought I was the only one, or I didn't know how to approach that. And if she's brave enough and strong enough to be sharing in this way, or it might be that she's inspirational, that she's actually said, you know what, you have permission to live your life your way.
I'd love that.
It's great. And I know that even raising, I've got 5 kids, but 2 of my daughters, I got married at 20 and then had 5 children, including 2 sets of twins. And so I'm like Mother Earth. And then one of them, the first one's like going, she said to me a few weeks ago, I'm sorry, Mum, that I'm not married at 30. And I'm like going, oh my gosh, no need to apologize, right? Because she's living her life, has a lovely partner.
Beautiful.
It's like, do things in your time, your way, but it's this perspective. And then my 23-year-old's going, don't actually have that conversation. I really want to live my own life. And I'm so thankful that they are at various stages of doing that, because there's so many expectations that we can, particularly in my era, that people just automatically put on you, that this is what's expected of you. And I think we need to get more and more progressive in giving people permission to actually go, you know what, you do it your way. And there's so many variables that will affect everyone's life, just due to timing, circumstances, different things that happen, health situations, lifestyle situations. It's just like we are so unique. Why would it be assumed that we would all sort of go along this same sort of path? It's crazy, really, when you start.
It is crazy. It is.
It's amazing how, that's just been traditionally our path. And so I think that is so wonderful, because this is a mindset magic summit. So you've had to have a real mindset shift here. You're the classic, you go, yeah, I was a perfectionist and it held me back. I didn't show up as myself because I was Little Miss Perfect. And what if Little Miss Perfect isn't perfect? Does the world come crashing down? So you, at that moment, obviously, when you feel something so strongly, and those listening in, you'll be thinking, I'm that person, right? I know it. I know that you're there going, yep, that's me. I would love you to just spend a few minutes sharing, well, what mindset shift did you need to have that, it's almost like a stepping over. If I actually have an overcoming of this, was it an easy step? Was it an intentional action? What did you need to do to shift your mindset that says, it's okay if I'm less than perfect, if I'm actually just me, which is beautiful, perfectly imperfect, right?
That's exactly right.
What did that look like for you? Because I know that's going to help people listening in today.
Absolutely. It was a long process for me. So some people do have a moment and it's an aha moment and they change. But for me, it did happen. I read like dozens and probably hundreds of books during the writing of this book, which were also helpful. And I also listened to hundreds and hundreds of podcasts, and I did a lot of learning and self-reflection. But it was actually about learning, because I think, as you said, from our generation, it was more of a feeling of what other people are going to think and what are people going to say. And it's come from the baby boomer era. It's very much, the judgments and all that kind of thing. So my mindset change was that I had to change my mind from worrying about external validation and what other people were thinking to worrying about what actually my heart wanted. Because I think whatever we're doing what everyone else wants us to do and we're not being our true and authentic self, we're going to be stuck and in pain. So it was that, I didn't have to be liked by everyone. And there's a good story about, not being liked, because that is it's a massive thing, especially for women too. We all think that we have to be liked by everyone, and we have to appear as this perfect person. So changing the mind from, if I'm happy with what I'm doing and I'm confident and proud of what I'm doing, then it really doesn't matter what other people are thinking. Obviously with respect. It's not, go and do anything you want, but doing what your heart desires without worrying about the opinions of other people and what they think of you. I think that's the most important mind shift that helped me through.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. I know that's right. While you're actually living this life that's helped you think other people are wanting of you, then you're half a version of yourself. You're a lesser
That's right.
version. So they're actually
Absolutely.
getting robbed by this version of you. Saying that, it's a big and bold moment. I know some of you going, oh, it's not that easy. Seriously,
No.
just start doing it in little drops then. You don't have to
Mm.
massively leap out of your comfort zone. You can actually go, okay, well, I'm going to try it. I'll have one moment, then I go, no, I'm going to do this for me. I'm going to choose a moment for me, or I'm going to back myself more, and just start doing it in different sort of zones, if you like, and let that comfort zone just stretch.
That's great advice.
I absolutely love that. So I'd love to know then, just to finish up, do other people now see you differently? Those people, those family members who thought, wow, Lisa Benson, like she's always been Little Miss Perfect, wouldn't have picked her to then suddenly go and write a memoir and expose all and to be, suddenly, they would be noticing growth and changes in you. Do they recognize this new version of you? And do they actually now suddenly go, oh, I actually love you more, I respect you more? What has been happening there?
Oh, that's a huge question, because there's so many, my head's reeling with all the different components of that, because there's so many aspects of that are true. And one of my friends actually just said, oh, I love this new Lisa. So it's like there's a lot of, instead of this, it's what other people don't realize, and perfectionists especially, because I know there's lots of us out there, that we think that, as you said, that other people are wanting that, but it's the strained version of ourselves. It's not the relaxed version. And it's when you've got the perfect house, people don't want to muck it up. So people are noticing definitely there's a relaxing in a lot of areas, but there's also a little bit of, because when for 5 years I've been saying, I'm writing this book, and a lot of people even admitted that, they never thought a book was going to appear. They just thought that was my excuse, that, they just didn't think it was ever going to happen. So it's like, oh, she's actually been doing this, and it's a lot better. Like a lot of people have actually said this is deeper and much more, like there's a lot of more work gone into it than they thought had gone into it. I don't know what they expected, but they're the comments, some of the comments that I've received. But I think I've helped other family members who, after reading the book, have realized things that they didn't realize, which has been absolutely beautiful. And if there's no other reason that I've written this book than to help, the people in my close family and friends to notice things that they didn't notice before, then I feel like I feel honestly like I'm called to do this. And if that's all that comes of this book, well, then I'm so blessed and so happy.
Beautifully said. And I think we're all called to just be the best version of ourselves, the person that we were born to be, and then bring that out to its full fruition, whatever that looks like and feels like, and I think those people and there won't always be, when you have these big brave moments and you do it for yourself, there will be people who will even fall away. There'll be people who didn't appreciate it because they like the old version. But it's like you haven't become a new Lisa, you've actually become Lisa. Like you've grown into
exactly right.
So that other person's kind of like, well, I know you like that, but it wasn't fully me, and so those who come on the future journey actually get to have the 100%, right? And I just think
exactly right.
Worth everything. Absolutely. Fantastic.
Thank you, Annie. Yeah.
So much. Oh my goodness, I have loved this conversation. I just can't imagine. I'd just love to finish up though, just asking you a little sneaky question. What was it like living on the boat? So did you live on there for like slabs, or did you just visit and have that as like an office space? How did that actually work?
So again, because I'm in two different, so we're in Newcastle and Sydney, and my husband has work in both of those areas. So 4 or 5 years leading up to COVID, the boat was the home. So it was the home for probably 3 or 4 days a week. So yeah, living on Sydney Harbour, and it was just so peaceful. So when I was writing, I could, there wasn't, someone knocking at the door or a postman, or it was just the waves lapping. And, every so often you'd have a boat go past and you'd rock. And we always had this funny little thing that we said, like, oh, we're on a boat. When we had the big rocks, we're on a boat, like, because it's kind of surreal, and it's kind of not a very normal thing to do, but it's a beautiful experience that we'll never forget. And yeah, I do miss the boat. So, but now we have a place where we stay in Sydney as well. So we're still doing the double life, but it's just not that excitement of being on the boat. But yeah, it was definitely, I can write lots of stories about that time.
I think it would be absolutely amazing. As someone who's just been I just went on a little diving adventure with my family, and that's right, that feeling of being rocking on the boat. we did it with other people. And I think, as a success coach, what am I constantly telling people? That if you want to achieve your dreams, you've got to have, consistent intentional action, right? Consistent intentional focus. And what you've shown in this example, in this conversation today, is that you've actually gone and done that. You've applied time to, and the time that it requires, which is your own time. There's no set formula for that. Sometimes people pop something out. Sometimes the whole process does take 5 years. There's no medal on it. It's not like it has to be anything, but the focus, the actual ability to then just isolate yourself and to be able to really spend that time making sure that you've given it your all, and to have a woman come on the summit and actually go, you know what, I'm so happy that I did spend that time, because you're so happy with the quality of what you've then presented. There's no regrets there, and I think that makes you smile like for the rest of your days, going, I did it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would have regretted, if I didn't do it, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. It would have been my biggest disappointment. So as I said, I'm so proud, and if other people are proud of me, that's great, but it doesn't matter, because I'm really proud of what I've produced, and it will help. I know it will help other people.
It sure will. And those of you who go, oh my goodness, I definitely want to find out a little bit more about this book and a little bit more about Lisa Benson, I want you to go to lisabensonauthor.com, and there you'll find all about Lisa. You'll be able to connect with her, find out how to purchase the book and things of that nature. Also, maybe just connect with her now. Like if you're on any of our feeds, just drop her a question, or you can find her via Women's Biz Tribe. Definitely just reach out and just go, I'd love to find out more about your journey, connect with you. That's what we're all about. We're a global community who is actually reachable, who is able to, women who share on this platform, always happy to go, yep, love to help you out, share more of my journey, connect with you, because we know that we're all at various stages of these journeys. So thank you so much for sharing on our summit today. I can't wait for our next summit sharing now that you're now going to be a regular. And those of you listening in, I'm so glad that you have been, just really enjoying these presentations and conversations. Stay tuned to our next scheduled summit speaker, who will be here very, very soon. I look forward to sharing with you again very, very soon. Hello and welcome. My name is Annie Gibbins, founder and CEO of Women's Biz Global. As a woman, a career executive and mum of 5, I know that becoming successful in a modern day society, it can be extremely difficult and challenging. The requirements of career and business success are often overwhelming, especially when you have competing priorities like family. But that does not mean that you can't be extraordinary. At Women's Biz Global, our goal is to educate, motivate, and elevate women so that they can have the freedom to live a life they love. It doesn't matter what your current status or position is. Your empowered future starts now. Whether you're a startup or a scale-up, or you're juggling business, life, career, family, everything, we will teach you how to dominate in your niche area without the stress and overwhelm that comes from wasting time and money and energy. We will equip you to achieve success, balance, and happiness on your terms. We invite you to join Women's Biz Tribe. Start by attending Women's Biz events and enjoy the benefit of interacting with like-minded women from around the globe who are choosing to unapologetically play a bigger game. Women's Biz Coaching offers a variety of programs that may suit your needs. We have boot camps and webinars, online structured programs and incubators. They're all designed to help grow your personal and professional brand, confidence and support framework. Women's Biz Media will help you discover extraordinary women via our podcast, Memoirs of Successful Women, and reach 12 million potential readers via Women's Biz Magazine. Women's Biz Publishing will take all the pain away from getting your voice and message out into the world. Your brand value will literally skyrocket overnight. And if you would prefer to access our consulting services, I will personally ensure high value solutions are provided to meet your specific needs, to time, to budget, and all with a beaming smile. Finally, get to know our affiliate partners and learn how you might like to become one yourself. Women's Biz Global is the support network that will fast track your journey to success. So what are you waiting for? Be unapologetically you. Women's Biz Global, helping women succeed in business and life.